Hey guys, welcome to a slightly scuffed edition of the Kaizer podcast. I am your host, Belf, and I'm only joined here today by Max,
Hello.
unfortunately. Everyone is super busy, melting in the heat of Great Britain right now. So we actually had a pretty jam-packed Vanguard-related week over the last week. What have you been doing, to keep up with everything, Max?
So there was lots of things on Facebook that I was looking at, lots of card reveals for Pale Moon. I've just had my internet finally installed at my house, which is fantastic because for the last 3 months, everything I've been doing online has had to work through my phone's internet. So I've been getting like half a meg speed, but now I'm on supersonic speed internet. So hopefully I'll be able to do more things and do more exciting things with my internet and install games in less than 4 days, which should be quite
Oh,
nice.
hell yeah.
What about you, Belf? What have you been doing?
I've been testing a lot of the stuff from Set 8. Very satisfied with how good the cross is. Deck is actually really fun, even though it's fairly linear. Having a lot of fun testing Messiah as well. That deck looks like it's going to be the front runner coming out of the set. Blade Master isn't too far behind though, and unfortunately Gallop is kind of in the bin. That deck is not very good.
Yeah, it's garbage.
And Sisano is it's kind of your run of the mill, middle of the road protect deck, but I think it might have some niche matchups that might give it more meta relevance than I'm giving it credit for. Maybe I'm just not playing it correctly. Maybe I'm not building it correctly. But
Maybe.
I'm not 100% sure. But we'll see if we can work on it.
So in today's stream, it was quite a short stream. We were only on for about half an hour, I think, watching.
Yeah.
But we had quite a lot of reveals during the week, which we're also going to go over. But before we get into that, because we don't have Rowan here, we don't have our resident Vanguard Zero expert, so we're going to have to just kind of blag our way through the Vanguard Zero stuff quickly and talk about what they announced. So the first thing here is, I think these are trial decks. Is that right? Trial decks for Vanguard Zero that you
I
can purchase.
believe they're trial decks, or they're sort of like precons, like you get in Magic with the Challenger decks.
Yeah.
So I think the way that they're going to work is they are 1,220 yen, or equivalent in gems, in game, and you will get. I think these are like foil or alt art starters. You'll get some of these. They're mainly for the Q4 clans. So instead of you getting like, Asura Kaiser from set 1, they're just dropping you straight into getting Azure Dragon. And Kagero the only thing we know about the Kagero one is that it has Overlord. So it'll probably have like one copy of Dote or something, so you can just buy 4 of this and get a fully built Dote deck. It's Coco instead of Tsukiyomi for OTT, which I'm fine with.
Yeah.
And I think the Royal Paladin one is going to be just straight blasters. I don't think they're going to be including MLB in that.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. I think this is a good thing though, because obviously the more stuff that comes out for Vanguard Zero, the harder and harder it's going to be for somebody getting into it from fresh, because there's going to be more and more things in the card pool that they're going to have to keep up with. So I think doing something like this is a really nice way of making sure that it's still accessible for new players and they can still have a deck without having to spend their first 2 months of their time playing, building up on all the old sets that are irrelevant to get the cards that they need, like Perfect Guards. So I'm hoping these things are going to include stuff like Perfect Guards in them. I'm sure they will.
I mean, even if they don't, if we're talking from a financial buy-in perspective, it's not that hard to just buy 4 Sentinel medals or earn 4 Sentinel medals off of just using VP use over the first month or the first few months that you play. Speaking of VP, they did kind of nuke VP farming. I don't think we have a slide on it, but basically now VP is calculated on how much damage you have taken and dealt. So if you win after taking 0 damage, you will get less, like your opponent will get less VP because they don't damage you. So you actually have to play the game, or at least run way more complicated scripts where you accidentally win, and then at that point you're just botting, then why even play the game? So that's a change that comes out in Japan tomorrow, and I believe we'll be seeing it around set 6 in Zero. Don't quote me on that.
I think that's right.
Maybe they'll change it on next maintenance. Other things that we got revealed for Zero is that they are actually, I believe that it's either this week or next week, that we'll be getting set 5 Breaker of Limits, which is original Vermilion, Ezel, and I want to say that no, first wave Aquaforce is not in there. It's just Narukami, Gold Paladin.
I think Age of Feather were in set 6 as well originally in the
Yes.
OG game, so I'm assuming that Age of Feather might be in that set too.
Yeah. But yeah, also for next month's season reward, if you want, you can get some Glory Maelstrom sleeves that look quite nice, and Dungaree sleeves. Less said about Dungaree, the better.
Yeah.
And an alt art Maelstrom that looks really, really nice.
It looks really hench. It's like 12-pack.
Dummy thick dragon boy. Yeah, I actually really like that art. I might have to try and get some of those when the season rolls around in English. So we have other more general things about the physical card game. We have reprints. So
this is really nice high-res image.
Yeah, we all know that the prices of certain cards that grab you grade 3s, they're getting a bit pricey. I'm not saying that, like, you know, brand ones are like $30+, but brand ones are like $30+.
Yeah.
Same with Mighty Bolts and Baragios. So Bushiroad in their next wave of support for their clans, so for the Luard set in the set 10 and the set that has Aquaforce in, set 11, they will be reprinting the grade 3 searches. They are looking at about, it looks like the ratio you're going to get like 4 a case, so 1 in every 5 boxes. They will be reprint rarity, so we don't know if that's going to be the SP foiling like they did the previous reprints. We don't know if that'll be just the standard rares or anything like that. But I'm glad that they're giving these out in a more accessible way for people who missed them the first time around, because they are expensive. They are really expensive.
The big difficulty for us is obviously the closest thing we've got to compare this to is stuff like the Stride Fodders in G format, which obviously we played four copies of, and they had the skilled search grade 3 Abyss Stride Fodders. They were £5 each when they were released, and they were rares, you know. And even as rares, they were expensive because people needed 4 copies of them, and because they were so important. I think because they released these as such high rarity cards, they're just they need to keep reprinting them because they need to make them accessible, because they are absolute staples. You need these in your decks now.
Yeah.
I don't think there are any top tier decks that are going to be coming out in the next couple of months that aren't going to be running these. I'm trying to think. I can't think of anything at all. You know, it's going to be the money card for MLB when MLB comes out, because people are going to desperately need this card.
Yeah, people are definitely going to need their copies of Sisyllus. Yeah. I mean, it does help sets hold value in the long term, but at the same time, it does kind of hinder the barrier. Like, it does build up a bit more of a barrier to entry. I mean, we're not going to go super in depth on V prices here, but $600 for an Overlord deck, the entire deck is basically triple rare or higher. Not that I'm complaining.
Yeah.
Because I already have all the stuff.
It's great because it means that all your cards get to warp with Vanguard 6 foiling.
Oh,
after you've had it for a few months, they'll get all those nice curves.
And you can't even triple sleeve.
No.
But yeah, so the even casual decks want to play 4 copies of these. Like, even if you want to play something silly, like, I don't know, like Maelstrom now, because Maelstrom I don't think is as good as Revon. Even if you'd want to play that, you basically have to play 4 copies of Baragios and that. Even if you want to play something silly like Gauntlet Buster, Narukami, you would have to play, like, you still have to play like 4 copies of Mighty Bolt. I can see them reprinting these into the ground in the future, but this is a good first step.
Yep.
I think that they started them as high rarity, 1 to push pack sales initially, and 2 so that they can reprint them into the ground in lower rarities, but still keep higher rarity copies already out there to satiate collectors.
Yep, I think you're right. So our next announcement is Bushiroad's little. This is the VR and triple rare increase, right? Was it really an increase?
Yes. So there's been a little bit of drama in the community based on pack ratios. So they heavily advertised that set 8 would have more VRs per carton. So like more VRs per case and more triple rares per case. And it was like, Yes, but actually no. So before you would get 25-ish VRs and then 5 SVRs, usually per main set, which would total 30 total copies of VRs. Now they went to 27 VRs, but they took away SVRs, and if you get an SP of a VR, it takes a VR slot. So overall quantity of VRs did go up, but overall quantity of VRs went down, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, so the point is that actually there are more VRs to get now, but it's harder to get the specific VR you want to pull. So if you're buying boxes to try and pull Dragonic Overlord, you're going to find it harder to pull Dragonic Overlord now than you would have done in the past. But
Yes.
you're more likely to get something else anyway.
Yes, you are more likely to pull a raw VR, but
it's probably going to be something a bit poo.
Ish.
Yeah.
So, and then the other thing is that they announced that they would be having more triple rares in the set, like more triple rares per carton. So normally you would get 60 triples in a case. Now we went to 64 triples in a case. This wouldn't be as big of a deal if they didn't also make it so that you got, like before there was only 8 triples in a set. Now there's 11. So the overall, like, you are getting more triple rares per case, but at the same time, you are getting less copies of each triple rare. And especially with these grade 3 searchers being triples, and are some of the chase money cards of these sets, it's a little bit disingenuous on how they're distributing this sort of stuff. So to make up for it, they have announced that in future print runs of set 8, they will be more closely mirroring the print ratios of set 7. So it looks like we'll be getting 30 VRs again, and they will probably be upping the triple rare pull rate again a little bit. And they will be following this philosophy from set 9 onwards. So that's from the Rummy set, from the Luard set, and from the Aquaforce set.
Yeah.
They're just putting more of these in circulation, which I am 100% more for. It makes opening packs more exciting. It makes like prices in general go down, even if they go down a little bit, so that it's easier to actually complete sets. I'm entirely all for this.
Yeah, it's strange because I mean with Bushiroad they're always really boosting the amount of high rare stuff that are in the boxes if you compare it to the older sets. But the cards still go up in price more and more and more because as the cards become more accessible, people begin building more and more decks, which means that the cards are still just as hard to get because somebody who, say, during V-Era might have had 1 or 2 decks, now has 6 or 7 decks because the cards are easier to get. But because they're easier to get at that point, it means that the cards still hold value because once they're in decks, then they're out of the market anyway. So yeah, it's a bit of a paradox for Bushiroad, unfortunately, that no matter what they do, the cards will always be expensive until they turn the game just into like an LCG, which they'll never do.
I mean, they did that with Buddy Fight. Buddy Fight's last
Buddy
2
Fight
sets
was a living
are
card
LCG
game,
sets.
and now it's a dead card game. So, rest in peace, Buddy Fight.
Pour one out for the Buddy Fight players. Yeah. All like 6 of you that have been playing since the first ever set. So we also had some good reveals this week. So we have our grade 3 searcher for Granblue, which is your boy Tommy the Ghosty Brothers. During your turn, if you have 5 or more cards in drop zone, it gains 5k power. When placed, check top 5. If for a grade 3, if you add 1, discard a card. What more do you want? This card does have insanely good artwork.
Yeah,
like I love the art on this card. Also, there's a pretty neat little reference in the background that I believe it was in Night Rose's original art, she was drinking that style of tea.
Yeah.
And now she's drinking it in the background of this re-release of Tommy. I really like the art on this. This is going to make a gorgeous SP.
I think that the bandanas that these guys have, it's like, is it Team Aqua in Pokemon that have kind of blue
it does
bandanas?
look a lot like
it looks like that. It's really nice artwork though, and I mean it's just the generic kind of search that we expect, isn't it, really?
Yeah, if you play Granblue, you will play 4 copies of this.
Yeah.
So, I didn't get the images for this because these are all part of a cycle. So, all of these have the same first skill, which is when they're placed on Guardian Circle, you jam them into Soul afterwards. So, there are 4 different Magia dolls, and they're all retrains of previous Pale Moon units. Like, one of them is Flying Periton, one of them is the Wolf Grade 2. The only thing I know is that they didn't make QT Paratrooper one of them, which I was actually kind of looking forward to playing that card.
Yeah.
I'm not into waifu units, but QT Paratrooper was a QT, and I did like its art. So all of these Magia dolls start off with the skill that when they're put on Guardian Circle at the end of the battle, you put them into Soul. So you might not be directly soul charging as much. This is all like very isolated Harry support, and they all have a different skill when called out by Harry itself. So the first one, which is a grade 1 8k, when it's called out by Harry, you countercharge 1. The second one, when it's called out by Harry, you draw a card, that's Flying Periton. The third one, that's a grade 2 9k, when it's called out by Harry, your Harry Vanguard and itself gains 10k power. And then the other one, when it's called out by a Harry unit, you choose one of your opponent's rear guards, put it into Soul. You pretty much have to play 4 copies of all of these because of later support and later things in the archetype. You need to play a high density of Magia Doll cards. The same as with Lukier, you had to play a high density of Silverthorns.
Yep.
To the point where I saw people playing, like, you don't really want to play fronts in Pale Moon, but people were playing 4 of the Silverthorn front trigger just for the name. These are all kind of the same. They're all commons and rares. I think they're all about as good as each other.
Yeah.
The one that gives your Vanguard 10k power is probably the least playable. The one that gives you a counter charge back might be better than the rest. We'll really see. But I like the general design of all of these. They make a very clean cycle.
Yeah, it seems like Harry's going to be the budget deck as well from this set in a lot of ways. It seems like that's going to be the set that people could actually get affordable in a way that Lukier probably won't be.
Yeah, I mean, Lukier probably requires a VR from a previous set as well.
Yeah.
And a lot of those previous Silverthorn pieces are already really expensive, like Irina, Dorian. I mean, Dorian's at 1 is a rare, but you still have to hunt down a copy. Yeah, like a lot of the pieces for Lukier are already price gouged, while these you'll be able to just build Magia dolls straight out of the set.
Yeah.
So if we want to look at the rest of the support, it should be on the next slide. So this is just a grade 2 bird that doesn't have the Magia doll name, but is very clearly a Magia doll card. So on rear guard, when it's placed, you get to choose a Magia doll from your drop zone, put it into your soul. It just recycles pieces. That's fine. At the end of the battle that it attacked, if this unit is on a stage, we'll get to that later, you pay a counterblast, put it into your hand, call a Starry Pop Dragon from any zone, basically. And then if you look through your deck, you shuffle your deck. So the stage is something we're going to go over in a little bit, but I just wanted to get this and the next card pointed out already. So the next card is Starry Pop Dragon, and
So cute.
Bushy Road love forcing their grade 4s. They really do. At the same time, this is also a congrats promo for this set's promotion cycle, which is kind of cool. It looks really nice and full art. So Starry Pop Dragon is a grade 4, and for each different Magia Doll rearguard, it gains 5k. So that's why you want to play as many Magia Dolls as possible, just to make this thing bigger. And then when it's on a rearguard, when it's placed on the stage, you get an Excel gift. So this thing will draw you a card if you go Excel 2, or if you go Excel 1, it'll give itself some power. And then when it attacks, if it has 40k or more power, it gains a crit, your opponent can't PG it, and then at the end of the battle, you retire it. So this card, you might go, oh, you just get free Excel gifts. That's really crazy. This thing just lets you get way more gifts and get way more multi-attack. Yes and no, because of how stage works.
Yeah.
And then we can cover stage in this next slide because we're going to talk about Harry. Because like all of this we kind of have to discuss because it is just a package. So Harry is on Vanguard. Choose one of your additional rear guards, so one of your Excel circles, and for the rest of this fight, it becomes a stage. So the way that the stage works is that Excel circle then becomes the stage. Whenever you ride further grade 3s or get further Excel gifts, those further Excel gifts are instead put on top of the stage so that they will stack.
Yeah.
So
So
you will
stage becomes
only ever
four. Excel becomes force in a lot of ways.
kind of. It's you start stacking Excel gifts on one circle, and then you put stuff in and out of the stage. And then during your turn, you pay a counterblast and discard one. Choose up to 2 Magia Doll with different names from your soul, call them out, and they gain 5k power. If your opponent's Vanguard is grade 3 or greater, you get to call out 4. So the main reason that you would want to play this is it calls 2 to 4 things, which can either refund the counterblast, refund the draw, minus your opponent, or give itself power, and if your opponent's on grade 3, you get to do all 4 of those. You then set up a stage for the grade 4, and then if you call out 4, that grade 4 already has plus 20k power. If you're playing Excel 1, it will then get itself to the 40k power threshold. If you are playing Excel 2, you just need to give it 10k somehow. So a trigger. I could actually see this deck playing fronts, just to try and help do that. Because you already have crit pressure on that rear guard. Or you could just go Excel 2 and draw some extra cards. Harry is a really, really nice little package, and I have been trying it out a bit on an unofficial update on Cardfight Area. The only problem I have with the deck is that, yes, it's good at calling things out, and when you guard with them, they go into Soul. One of Pale Moon's things is when it's done with its cards, it puts them back into Soul so you can use them again next turn. Magia doesn't really have this so far. You have the bird to put things back into the Soul on grade, like on whenever you call it, it gets one from drop zone, puts it into Soul. But other than that, it doesn't really. You can't really put things back outside of playing a one of Dorian. So, if they get something that lets you suck all of your Magia dolls back into Soul, like even if it wasn't for any advantage, like even for just draw 1 or for like unflip 1, Soul Charge, that would be fine. It's just that you ride Harry, you call out your Magia dolls, you swing, and then it has the same problem that Pale Moon had in its first wave of support, that after you call your stuff out, it stays out there and they just attack it, and you've gone a bunch of minus in your hand to try and call out this board, and then you can't put it back and protect it. That is the only problem I have so far with Harry. Other than that, this deck is really fun, and calling out the giant grade 4 dude all the time is really, really good.
Yeah, I think one of the big criticisms that people have of Vanguard, especially that come from other games, is the fact that Vanguard can become really repetitive really quickly. And I think actually what we're seeing with a lot of this new support, the treasure, the stage, all these new things that are coming out, is Bushiroad making a real effort to try and make the game as diverse as possible in the archetypes they're bringing out, as well as the clans. And we're moving away from this kind of free tier system of this free gifts, and that's what you get to play with, and that's what defines how your deck works. So I'm really glad to see that we are getting so much differentiation now between the clans.
And I can still see that. I mean, we aren't getting Venus Luquier this week, but I could still see that Venus Luquier will be back more in the more traditional Pale Moon style of calling out a board, selectively soul charging, gaining power, multi-attacks, rather than Harry, which just has better quality attacks because it has one massive one. This is more than likely going to be the more budget deck, unless they print something which just, blows everything in this deck out of the water.
Unless this deck becomes tier 1, this will be the budget deck. And that's mainly because it's not got Luquier on the front of it.
Also, I can definitely imagine that all of the normal Magia dolls could very easily be SPs in the Harry pack, and that would be cool. A very pretty pack.
Yeah. Probably very expensive as well, because there's such a gap between the rarities.
Yeah.
Well, we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah.
Next up, we have some more Granblue support, and this is our Foreboding Ghost Ship. Ooh, spooky. This card's skill is Act, Drop Zone, discard a card, and call it to rear guard. If you've got 10 cards or more in your drop zone until the end of the turn, he gains 10k power, so he becomes a 22k grade 3 on rear guard circle.
This is very okay.
I can't see people running this. I can see this becoming, one of those cards that people go, locals topping budget deck, Granblue, runs nothing higher than double rare. This is my alternative Vanguard Ghost Ship. But I can't see it. It's a very pretty card, but I can't see it appearing in any of the lists on Bushiroad's website anytime soon.
Credit where credit is due. This thing might be playable in premium,
Yeah.
just because you can use it as an engine enabler, and like being able to call out free things in Grand Blue without having to waste your Vanguard or your Stride skill
Yeah.
might be relevant.
Well, I
But
mean, yeah. The thing about this card is it's not there really. The bonus of this card isn't that you get to call it to the field. The bonus of the card is that you get to put a card you want into your drop zone.
yeah,
That's where the benefit comes from, isn't it?
yeah, and it's a grade 3 with the gift. But that's
Check.
about it.
Yep.
I mean, it is a pack filler common, but I think that
it's not as bad as some other pack filler commons, is it? That's the thing.
It's not the insert name of bad grade 3 common here. Yeah. Maximum riser.
If you were playing a Grand Blue deck at locals against me, and I saw that you'd got one or two of these in your deck, I'm not going to laugh at you. I'll be like, oh, that's interesting. Why are you running this? And I'll probably be interested in your answer for it. Whereas there are other cards which I'll say that card is absolute dog poo. You shouldn't be running that at all. This card is not dog poo, but it's definitely not good.
Yeah, I think that if there are cards that somehow interact with this might be good.
Yeah,
but
it needs to be abused, doesn't it? It's like the Wiseman thing from V format. You know, Wiseman wasn't good when it was on its own, but when you found the right engine to put it in, it became broken.
So a specific stand trigger.
Yeah.
So
yeah, when we get a stand trigger for this card, it might be good.
Oh my god.
Next card.
Yeah. So this is actually a triple rare for Murakumo, and I am so sorry for all Murakumo players, because this card is very underwhelming.
Yeah.
So on Vanguard, during your turn, all of your copies of this card on your Vanguard and Rear Guard gain 3k power. And then on Vanguard or Rear Guard, when it's placed from hand, you Counterblast 1, Soul Blast 1, search your deck for a copy of it, and call it to Rear Guard. Or you can grab one from the drop zone. So Midnight Crow was already a card, and is arguably better than this.
Yeah, they say deck thinning is deck winning, but not always.
I mean, Midnight Crow does the exact same thing, but without a Soul Blast, and can copy anything on your board, but it doesn't work on Vanguard Circle to give other things with the same name power.
I feel like I could trade that off.
I feel like not burning a soul in Murakumo, a soul that you could probably use, because this is very clearly for the clone deck. Yeah. Like, you're supposed to just call out copies of this and call out copies of itself, and then you can like use Miyomaru on this is for like a grade 2 rush thing. You ride one of this, you call out another copy of it, you call a Metamorphox, copy this thing's name, and then you have like a 12k Vanguard and a 23k column. Yeah. Okay, this card is dog. Unless they make other ways of you cloning things' names, then this card might become playable, because you'd have to play it with Midnight Crow, and then just do all of the cloning with those, with Miyomaru. And then if there was any other way of inheriting names, but I genuinely think this is bad.
I'm really looking forward to having a full page of these in my binder after buying set 9 and not being able to get rid of any of them, which will be nice.
A full page of SPs. So yeah, then we have a Pale Moon promo that I actually really hope comes out over here.
I like it. I think it's good.
Yeah, so continuous on Rearguard or Guardian Circle. If you have 3 or more Excel markers, it gains 5k shield and 10k power.
Yep.
You being able to accelerate your Excel gifts with the big dragon from Harry is definitely what this thing is designed for. This card is more playable than it seems.
Yeah, he's a bit like the Blaster Blades from the old Monarch Sanctuary, Gancelotti decks, where they had the Blaster Blades that had more power and shield. And actually, that became for a lot of people a really good way of clutching their victories when their hand advantage got down to. So I can see these being quite good and quite playable.
Like one of the things is if you manage to get 3 Excel gifts on your first turn, then this gives you a defensive option of a 15k shield or a 10k shield, 20k, basically 20k attacker. After you've already depleted your hand, it's a really, really good interceptor.
The only issue I think I can see with it is the fact that with all the good stuff that's coming out for Dark Irregulars, it's a good card, but it's Pale Moon even. Good cards coming out for Pale Moon, so we've just been talking about Pale Moon. The difficulty is going to be whether there's space in the deck for it, I think, more than anything else. Yeah. That's a big
It doesn't have a relevant racial name either, which might be a problem. But
We'll
I
have to wait
think that
and see.
I think that this thing is deceptively playable.
Yep.
It's probably good in limited fight as well, but we'll
But
have to
nobody
see.
plays limited fight.
I want to give the format a shot. It actually looks fun.
You can keep pushing it, but you're not going to get anywhere.
Limited fight side event at Nationals when
Oh yeah.
where you could legitimately win with a Chronojet trial deck.
Yep.
Anyway, on to the new stuff from today's stream. We got a bunch of Dark Irregulars reveals.
This
So
is
we
Bel's
got
favourite card, Edge in the Darkness, because Belf is all about edging. So.
edgy, darkness. No, mom, it's not a phase. When I'm placed on Vanguard Circle, I draw a card and then take a card from my hand, put it in my soul, but I have no soul.
I didn't know the road was on the podcast today.
And then on Rearguard, when it's placed, Soul Charge 1, and then if you place it by a card's ability, Countercharge 1. Placing by cards' abilities, that sounds like a Pale Moon thing, but this card is very good. Being able to filter stuff straight into your soul turn 1 is relevant, and
It's
this
pretty
thing
much
just
free. That's the thing,
yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah, this thing, when you normal call it, Soul Charge 1, if you call it by an effect, which we'll talk about, like there are cards that call out by effects now in Dark Irregulars for some fucking reason.
So the other thing you want to do in Dark Irregulars is have a lower soul number.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, if you call this thing out from the soul, it refunds its own soul cost.
Yeah.
So I mean, this card is really good.
It's going to be abused. I think that's the thing, isn't it? We can see this is going to be an engine.
If we're talking about cards that are going to be abused, we'll give it a little bit.
Yeah.
We got some actual cards that are going to be abused. So this is the retrain of one of the original strides for Dark Irregulars, Abominable One Gilderai. So on Vanguard, when placed, you can counterblast 1 and call a grade 2 or less card from your soul to rearguard. Now, I get that Pale Moon was getting support in this set. I didn't expect Pale Moon effects
get their support in Dark Irregulars.
to bleed into every other clan.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can call out the grade 1 with
this guy
and
that we just looked at.
yeah, and it refunds both of its costs, which is kind of nice. And then on Vanguard or Rearguard, when it attacks a Vanguard, if your soul has 10 or more, choose one of your opponent's Rearguards and retire it.
Yeah, which I think is could be nuts if it's played off properly with the. We'll go to the other card just so we can talk about that. With Charlotte's Vampire. I think you're missing a couple of letters off at the end of his title there, but Charlotte Vampire. So he's a grade 3 protect, 12k. At the beginning of your battle phase, all your front row units gain a K for each card of your soul. And when it attacks, counterblast 1, stand one of your front row rear guards, and if your soul has 30 or more cards, stand 2 of your rear guards instead of 1. Now, this card to me seems absolutely bonkers. It seems really, really good. And the one thing that I think is going to be really amazing for this card is playing it with this Gilderay. If you've got 2 of these guys in the front row, and you're attacking with this, you attack with Gilderay, attack with Gilderay, retire something, attack with Gilderay, retire something, then you attack with this, restand your Gilderays, attack with Gilderay, retire something, attack with Gilderay, retire something. So you're going to get 4 retires off in one turn. Pretty much every turn, as long as you can defend your board. Which to me seems really fun and really nice, especially against things that need rear guards.
So when I was playing Dark Irregulars in Standard, I was asking for more playable cards and more playable grade 3s. I didn't ask for a Mordred Phantom.
Yeah.
But they literally gave Dark Irregulars a Mordred Phantom.
With no cost for restands, which is nice.
I mean, it's a counterblast.
Yeah. Oh, it's counterblast, yeah. But I mean, counterblast 1 is nothing for what it does.
Yeah. So one of the other fun little things about this card's design is you only get the power boost at the beginning of the battle phase because no Life King exists. They did that on purpose. And then you being able to ride No Life King after this and then restand your rear guards. I don't think that Gilderay is the best thing you could restand with this.
No, there are other things.
I think the best thing you could restand with this has got to be Number of Terror. That card is actually bonkers if you're able to resolve it twice in a turn.
Yep.
So Number of Terror is a grade 3 double rare from set 6, I want to say. And it's when it attacks on Vanguard or Rearguard, you can choose one of your rear guards, put it into the soul for a counterblast, and then draw 2 cards. Being able to do that twice in a turn sounds a bit bonkers, especially now that you actually have reasonable countercharge in this clan. And the fact that this gives DI even more multi-attack and multi-attack front row multi-attack, this card is definitely the reason why hard leg got banned.
Yeah.
Because this and hard leg,
it'd just be abused, would it? That's the difficulty.
That's 5 attacks that your opponent needs to triple guard. Yeah.
Or just take damage and hope for heals.
Yeah. I mean, none of this gains crits yet. So, I mean, I think that this is definitely what Dark Regulars needed, because it's gone 3 waves in Standard without really doing anything in Standard. I mean, they keep breaking it in Premium, and I definitely cannot wait to put this thing into a Premium DI list and just soul charge it in with Gas Steel and then just win the game. Because this thing is also, like, it's a Master of the 5th Element without a Soul Blast 15 cost.
Yep.
Like, this thing's actually kind of absurd.
absurd.
This thing is way better than it looks, because DI is already a massive toolbox deck.
Yeah.
In both formats.
And even
now,
DI just haven't done anything for so long in Standard that I think this is going to be a thing which makes people say, oh, DI exists.
I mean, Brufus was alright. It wasn't as good as Mordred or as good as Lukier.
Yeah.
Or Hugo. So every other clan that was in the same set as it. But I thought it was fun.
Yep.
Playing Connect 3 and Soul 3 times was fun. And
good.
Yeah, I mean, I think this card is bananas.
Yeah, I think it's really, really good. I think we're going to see. We saw a little bit of gameplay of it, but I think we're going to see this card appearing actually in the tournament scene, which will be nice.
A viable Protect deck in the Year of Our Lord 2012 +8.
And Protect 1 at that as well. It's a Protect 1 deck, really. I think
you could go Pro 2 on your restanding circles, but yeah, you probably want to go Pro 1.
Is that the last slide, or have we got more?
I think that should be the last thing.
Yeah. So next week, Venus Lukier, probably more Pale Moon cards. Belfer at this. He can't speak Japanese apparently, but I don't believe him. So next week we have, well, before next week, this week we've got episode 6, I want to say, of Cardfight Vanguard. And we're looking at Spike Bros, which should be interesting.
I might actually have to watch this episode.
Yep. We're aiming to meet up next week in person, so hopefully we'll be recording, and we'll start the podcast off with a beard compare contest to see who's got the most manly beard, since none of us have shaved for the entirety of the lockdown. I think Belf will probably win that, unfortunately.
Without a doubt.
So we've got that coming up. We've not got that much happening this week, apart from that, I don't think. With the lockdown loosening, I think we're wanting to try and venture out a little bit more. So the videos will probably slow down a little bit next week and this week. We're all aiming to meet up on Sunday, so hopefully somebody will buy some cards, and then they'll be able to record them opening the packs or something like that. But we'll have to wait and see. So please do join us next Tuesday, as always, for our next podcast and review of the stream. Hopefully we'll be in person that time, but none of us really know, because everything changes every day with these lockdowns and rules. So if you enjoyed the video, please like it. If we said anything stupid, please tell us about it. But apart from that, we'll see you next Tuesday. So see you next time, guys. Bye bye.
Rowan's not here, so bye.